Welcome back to the channel, my friends. Warhammer Man Studios. I'm Warhammer Man, and today we're taking a look at gambits and missions for the new 40k. This video was sponsored by CMO Games. More on that later. Gambits and missions. Here's how you win games in the new 40k. Mustering an army with the biggest guns, the sharpest swords, and the roomiest transports per upcoming edition of Warhammer 40,000 is all well and good, but all the firepower and fighting prowess in the galaxy is no good if you don't complete your mission. As you'd expect for a new edition, missions have changed in Warhammer 40,000. In fact, there's just one in the core rules, entitled Only War. This is perfectly balanced pitch battle in which two players fight for control of 4 objective markers, which they've taken it in turns to place. If anyone's looking for a job proofreading, I'm pretty sure Warhammer community is hiring. These objectives are scattered across a battlefield of 44 by 60 inches. Okay, I just want to take a quick second to say that is awesome. I'm really glad that they did not change the size of the game board again. At strike force 1,000 points and incursion size 2,000 points, or 44 by 90 for an onslaught game of 3,000 points, in which both players deploy on the short edges, it's the perfect theater for a thrilling battle. So yeah, very happy to see that the 44 by 60 board is still in full effect. So that is essentially 4 kill team boards placed together, as each of those is 22 by 30 inches. Next is the mission deck. Only War is only the beginning. The new edition features the chapter-approved mission system, an evolution of both the popular Tempest of War cards and the Grant Tournament mission packs. See, that's exactly what I mean. The Grant Tournament mission packs? I mean, every single line from Warhammer Community, there's errors. It's insane. Allowing you to quickly generate balanced and varied missions for every game. It's flexible enough to generate anything from a casual pickup game to an entire mission framework for a top-tier tournament. There are 2 different ways to pick your secondary missions. Fixing secondaries will feel more familiar to fans of the Grand Tournament format, while tactical secondaries are more akin to Tempest of War. Either way, you'll get an exciting and challenging experience. So, it sounds like there's going to be some sort of combination between Tempest of War and Grand Tournament like mission pack. I actually think Tempest of War is fun for just playing with your buddies and just having a good time, but I really prefer the structured form of the Grand Tournament mission packs when it comes to competitive play. I'm not a huge fan of the random objectives and stuff like that. I like the idea of knowing what they are before the game starts and then structuring your play around those. It's flexible enough to generate anything from a casual pickup games to an entire mission framework for a top-tier tournament. There are 2 different ways to pick your secondary missions. Fixed secondaries will feel more familiar to fans of Grand Tournament format, while tactical secondaries are more akin to Tempest of War. Either way, you'll get an exciting and challenging experience. So I wonder if this means that they're completely removing faction secondaries. Which would be a shame if they are, because one thing I really like about faction secondaries is oftentimes they help or assist the army in playing more like it's supposed to play. So like for instance, World Eaters secondaries, one of the main goals is to drown objectives in blood, which means you want to kill stuff that's on an objective and your opponent can kill your stuff on an objective, and either way you score points. And I like the idea of that because obviously for Khorne, he cares not from where the blood flows. And I think that really makes the army much more thematic, so I hope that they're not getting rid of that aspect of it. So the mission deck has attacker and defender, and then we see deployment, mission rule, primary mission, secondary mission, and gambit. And the secondary mission has 2 cards for each player, everything else is 1. Here's how they work. Firstly, pick your game size and muster your armies as usual. Then divide the cards into their respective decks. Deployment, mission rules, primary missions, secondary missions, 1 deck for each player. And gambits, 1 deck for each player. At competitive events, these combinations may sometimes be defined ahead of time, but you'll usually generate them fresh each time you play. Okay, so I do like the idea of fixed stuff in advance. As strange as it seems, a lot of times, especially in a competitive scene, you're going to build your army based on how you're going to be scoring. So knowing like the actual mission pack and all that stuff in advance, or at least having some kind of structure to it, really adds a lot to the actual game, because the people that just build an army and show up are not going to do as well as the people that build an army with actual like scoring and winning games in mind. Shuffle each deck and draw 1 card from deployment, mission rules, and primary mission decks. These are your shared mission parameters. The deployment card shows where both sides deploy and where the objective markers are. The mission rules card explains any special rules in effect, and the primary mission explains how each side collects victory points. So we see mission rule, sweep, and clear. In this mission, if a player controls an objective marker at the end of their command phase, that objective marker remains under their control, even if they have no models within range of it, unless their opponent controls it at the end of any subsequent command phase. So essentially sticky objectives. Primary mission, take and hold. In the second, third, and fourth battle rounds, at the end of each command phase, the player whose turn it is scores 5 victory points for each objective marker they control, up to 15 per turn. In the fifth battle round, the player who has the first turn scores victory points as described above. The player who has the second turn scores victory points as described above, but does so at the end of their turn instead of at the end of their command phase. So pretty similar to the existing rules, not seeing a lot to change or discuss specifically here. Once they have set up the battlefield and determined who's the attacker or defender, but before actually deploying their armies, players select and reveal their secondary missions. These are personal goals they're trying to achieve, like assassination or deploy teleport homers, which will allow them to score additional victory points. Each player starts with 2 secondary objectives and can either choose fixed missions, which remain in place for the whole battle, reliable yet predictable, or take a risk with the tactical missions, which offer greater rewards but must be replaced with a randomly drawn card each time they're completed. Both players can choose a different way to score, so you can play the strengths of your army. So interesting. I think part of the vibe I'm kind of getting here and I'm unsure about is that this doesn't necessarily feel simpler. I like the idea of you just roll a die and basically that's your mission and you play that mission and then you have your secondaries and you're ready to roll. With this, it feels like there's a lot of randomization and picking of cards and selecting this, and both players might be trying to do a different thing, and maybe you're not going to know what the other player's going to do. So we'll see. I don't want to form any strong opinions right now as we just don't have the full set in front of us. But this definitely doesn't feel simpler. I'm not sure if it's going to feel better though. So we see secondary mission attacker, capture enemy outposts. At the end of your turn, if you control 1 or more objective markers in your opponent's deployment zone, this secondary mission is achieved and you score 8 victory points. Secondary mission defender, overwhelming force. While the secondary mission is active, each time an enemy unit that started the turn within range of an objective marker is destroyed, you score 3 victory points to a maximum of 5. Note that victory points are scored even if such a unit is destroyed and then subsequently resurrects for any reason. If you score any victory points from the secondary mission during a turn, then at the end of the turn, the secondary mission is achieved. Now a quick message from today's sponsor. CMO Games has been selling Games Workshop products online for over 20 years. They carry the full line of Games Workshop products, including Warhammer 40,000, Age of Sigmar, Necromunda, Blood Bowl, paint tools, and more. Almost all Games Workshop products are priced at 15% off MSRP. CMO Games takes pre-orders for most Games Workshop products released at their earliest date possible. 12:01 a.m. on Saturday, they go live. Most of these pre-order products are also priced at 15% off MSRP. CMO Games offer free shipping in the US 48 with an order of $50 or more. Their customer service is top-notch and they ship most orders within 24 hours. Visit CMOGames.com using the affiliate link in the description and let them know that you heard about CMO Games from Warhammer Man. Now back to the video. And finally, there are Gambits, an innovation for the new edition. Gambits. Primary missions not going as planned, there's still hope. A daring gambit may be your ace in the hole. At the end of the third battle round, either or both players may choose to play a gambit card, chosen in secret from 2 identical decks. Once a player reveals a gambit, their original goal is thrown completely out the window, replacing their primary mission with a completely fresh and intensely challenging new mission objective. They keep all their existing victory points and their secondary missions. A gambit is a risky prospect, but pulling it off scores an intimidating chunk of victory points, allowing a losing player to snatch an unlikely victory from the jaws of defeat. Better still, they ensure the battles stay valid and violent throughout all 5 battle rounds. This set includes 3 different gambits, one of which is randomly discarded before you make your choice, allowing you to keep your opponent guessing. Of course, you can also reveal the proceed as planned card, in which case you continue with your original primary mission. You might even bluff your opponent into panicking and taking a gambit themselves. So Gambit Attacker, proceed as planned. If you select this gambit card, you have chosen not to attempt a gambit. Until the end of the battle, you continue to score victory points from the primary mission. So this is like the fake out card. And then Orbital Strike Coordinates. At the end of your 5th turn, if 1 or more units from your army that are not battle shocked are wholly within 9 of a corner of the battlefield, and those units are not within your opponent's deployment zone, roll 2d6. Add 1 to the result for every other corner of the battlefield that has 1 or more units from your army wholly within 9 of it. excluding units that are battle shocked or within engagement range of enemy units. So assume you get 1 in all 4 quarters. You're going to have +3 to your 2d6 roll, which is going to average a 7. So that's going to give you a 10 total, maximum, +3 basically. If the final score is 12 or more, the gambit is successfully completed and you score 30 victory points. So this is basically just a Hail Mary. You're moving 1 unit to 9 inches of the corner. It can't be battle shocked and it can't be within engagement range of any enemy units. And then that's going to give you a +3 to your roll. So you're still going to need to roll a 9 on 2d6, which is difficult. Obviously, anyone that's ever charged at a deep strike knows that. Am I right? Gambits are hard to pull off. They represent a desperate Hail Mary attempt to pull things back from the brink. Okay, so we're on the same page here. However, they do ensure that any player who has fallen behind still has a meaningful long shot at winning, even in the face of overwhelming odds. There's plenty more to discover about the new edition of Warhammer 40,000. Tune in to Warhammer Community tomorrow for our huge preview event, beamed live from Warhammer Fest, which includes an in-depth examination of what you'll be getting in the launch box and plenty more. So yeah, that is awesome. Definitely looking forward to that. So I'm not sure exactly how I feel about this. It definitely is a combination of essentially what was 8th edition and also 9th edition. Kind of has some of the structured formats of the Grand Tournament mission packs. And then it also has like the randomness of Tempest of War. Both styles I like, but not necessarily mixed. So we'll see how it kind of plays out. Not sure how I feel about the gambits either. Are we still capped at a total of 100 points? And the gambit can just get you up to that 100, or can the gambit take you over? Honestly, not sure. Something like an extra 30 points, even if it is a long shot, is pretty crazy, especially in a tournament scene. Imagine you were, basically locking in, about to have a near perfect score, and then suddenly your opponent, who you have been absolutely cleaning the table with, suddenly hits some crazy gambit and overtakes the points. I think you probably can stop it, especially if there's only a couple of different gambits available. Realistically, you could probably figure out what your opponent's trying to do. I'm not sure if you'll have time to react or whatever, but I'm honestly not sure how I feel about this stuff right now. I'm still trying to keep an open mind about all this and kind of see where it plays out. I really like how the scoring currently works in Warhammer 40,000. Matter of fact, I think 9th edition is in a really good place. It's not perfectly balanced, nor will it ever be. Games like checkers or chess are great for that. But for all of the different units and all of the different factions and armies and everything, currently, I think the game is in a pretty good place. So as long as they kind of keep it flowing in the same way and scoring is fun and all of the armies are viable, I'm open to pretty much trying anything. So let me know what you guys think of these rules so far. I'm always interested to hear your guys' opinions. Chime in with anything you notice. Obviously, I do all this in real time. I don't go through and read these articles in advance. So you're getting my legitimate reactions. And sometimes some of those ideas or thoughts are a little bit misplaced. But honestly, I'm really excited for the new edition. I'm definitely looking forward to it. It is a little quicker than I would have expected, but obviously it just feels like that because of what's happened over the last couple of years. Sort of just feels like 9th edition was really just getting good, and now it is getting gone. Special thanks to CMO Games for sponsoring the video. Check out the link in the description to save 15%. That's it for today. Warhammer Man Studios. I'm Warhammer Man, and I am really excited for this weekend, and I'm out of here.